Welcome to r/Askreddit, where people answer the question, people who work for the super wealthy, what stuff have you seen? Our first reply is from Kale Duty. I had a client who purchased a newly built penthouse apartment and wanted a jacuzzi on the balcony. That would have meant that a structural column was needed in the middle of the balcony below, which the contractor who built the apartment block wouldn't go for because that would impact selling that apartment. So my client just bought the apartment beneath his, approved the column, jacuzzi was installed, then privately sold the apartment below. Voila! Problem solved. Beneath that, we have a similar story from Rewallin. A few years ago, a rich French guy opened a school. A bit before the grand opening, the staff was having a small party on the roof and the rich guy came in. He asked them if they had everything they needed. Someone said, jokingly, that it was missing a jacuzzi. A few days later, a jacuzzi was delivered on the roof. Our next reply is from Uncle Greco. The owner of my company had a customer pay off a giant debt by signing over a yacht to him. When he went to the marina to get the storage info transferred to his name and saw how much it cost to store the yacht there, he just bought the marina. Our next Reddit post is from Wedgie Scott. The CEO of the company I worked for was the founder's son. He wasn't an unintelligent guy, for the most part. His dad made him start with the most basic jobs in the company and then work his way through the different departments. Management was ordered, upon penalty of termination, not to treat him any differently than a new hire. So when he became a CEO, he wasn't a bad guy to work for. Now, this is a company of over 10,000 employees. One night, I'm working overtime on this late night shift and we get this call. Hey, you guys got an electrician? This guy is clearly drunk. We have no idea who this guy is or why he's calling our maintenance/engineering group. We ask who he is and he lightheartedly tells us that he's a CEO. He wants someone to ride to his house and figure out why his internet isn't working. Keep in mind, this was a 1-hour drive away. I volunteer because I was bored anyways. I get to the house and the entry gate is smashed. A section of the white horse fencing is gone and his Jaguar is stuck in the field. When I get inside the house, this dude is completely blasted. He's got a huge cut on his hairline. I say, "Are you okay, boss?" "I'm fine." "Why?" he asks, blood literally caked on his face. I accompany him to the bathroom and help him clean himself up, wash off the gash, and put some bandaging on it. Then I connected his internet by unplugging it and plugging it back in. As I'm walking out, he asked me to do a shot with him. I comment that I'm worried about my job, that it might be a bad idea. He agrees and hands me the bottle, saying, "Take it home and do a shot later. Keep it." When I get back to work, I look up the bottle of alcohol that he gave me. I'd never heard of it before. It's a $1,500 bottle of scotch. The next day, I'm at work early. About 11 in the morning, the CEO comes walking up to me and says, we're not going to be talking about last night, right? I tell him it's all good. Awesome! A little bit later, I get an envelope. There's a check attached for emergency tech support for $5,000. Beneath that, we have a similar story from Domestic Mayhem. My dad used to work for Getty Oil. Paul Getty III was made to do the same thing by his dad as far as working the little man's job to get a feel for how things really ran. My dad would tell us stories about how J. Paul would roll up in the oil rigs 2 to 3 hours late, in a limo, drunk and blown out of his mind. He wouldn't do anything while he was at the oil rig, just watch, and at the end of the day, the limo would show back up with a half-naked woman in the car, and then take him out to party the night away. This was after the guy got kidnapped, and my dad said that his missing ear was always crazy to look at. Oh man, I had to look up this story, and okay, so apparently this guy got kidnapped, and then they sent his dad a ransom note demanding, at the time would have been $112 million ransom. However, the father didn't believe it, and he thought that this was some kind of prank pulled by teenagers, so he didn't pay the ransom, and then the ransomers cut off this guy's ear and sent the ear into a news station. The letter said, "This is Paul's first ear. If within 10 days the family still believes that this is a joke mounted by him, then the other ear will arrive. In other words, he will arrive in little bits." After that, it looks like his dad agreed to pay $2.2 million to the ransomers, and he tried to claim that it was tax deductible because it was a business expense. Wow. Our next reply is from Dr. Grizzly. I worked as a male nanny for a rich couple who wanted someone to care for their kids. The wife didn't want a female nanny, and I was in college, so it helped pay the bills. One day they asked me if I wanted to go to Hawaii. Turns out, the company that the husband was a COO of was doing an executive retreat in Hawaii. Instead of finding daycare in Hawaii for their kids, they thought that it'd be easier to just pay for me to fly to Hawaii, care for the kids during the day, and then have my evenings of their family time free. So I went to Hawaii on their dime, had my own hotel room, they paid me for my time and gave me a large stipend for my own food and entertainment. I ended up with pretty much every evening free. During the day, I brought their kids to the beach, we went hiking, and did some touristy running around. On top of that, they gave me $5,000 in spending money in case any of the kids wanted anything. I had to show receipts, but when I tried to turn in the receipts, the wife just said, "Oh, don't worry about it, it's just a couple of grand," and never verified how I'd spent some of that money. I couldn't tell if she just trusted me implicitly by that point, or if she truly thought the amount was so small that it just didn't matter. They were a really nice family, just very well off, which made spending money on any problems the easiest answer. I actually got invited to the oldest daughter's high school graduation because she considered me a friend. This post is giving White Lotus vibes. Our next reply is from Cograk the Strong. I did appliance repair. This one lady had a 10-foot by 12-foot walk-in wine cooler. It was floor to ceiling stocked with wine in her living room. Another person's house was made of imported stone and had a library the size of a 2-car garage. My favorite was an old lady who just had nice stuff. She took care of what she had. Every time I went, she gave me $40 to have a nice beer with your lady. I would always refuse, but she insisted and was basically the typical granny that everyone would want. Our next reply is from Duranus. I worked in recruitment, finding crew for super yachts many years ago. I put forward a candidate for a chief engineer on a very well-known yacht owned by a very well-known individual. He was the perfect fit for knowledge, experience, and the guy was super friendly and nice as well. They turned him down because he wears glasses and the owner doesn't want anyone with disabilities working on board. Okay, technically that's illegal, but I guess when you're that rich, laws don't really apply to you, so the guy got away with it, unfortunately. Also, since when is needing glasses a disability? Don't something like how many Americans? Over 63% of Americans wear glasses. Yo, that's not a disability, that's just nuts. Our next reply is from Watson EXE. I redid a lady's shower one time during a nasty divorce. This shower was 6 foot by 10 foot with the entire ceiling covered in shower heads. The wife said, "Since he was off with half the office, I figured I'd get the other half all in here." The lady was a baller. She offered a $500 tip for everyone who worked on that bathroom because it was her ex's money. Yo, a 6 foot by 10 foot shower? That's a whole room. Most people's bedrooms aren't that big. Our next reply is from Nuxel. I was the project manager for a mansion build for one of the founders of a major health insurance company here in the US. This guy was one of, if not the best billionaire I've ever worked for. He showed up nearly every day in shorts and flip-flops and would treat all of us like equals. This was around the time that President Obama was about to put out Obamacare. I was in a meeting with the owner, and President Obama called this guy on his cell phone to discuss the plan. The owner tells us, "Hold on, the president's calling." To which someone jokingly made a comment, assuming that he was joking. The owner asked Obama to say hi to the team, and he did. It was surreal to be at the table with him when the call came through, and an experience I will never forget. Our next reply is from OK Profile. My brother worked on a super yacht. He quit the day that he saw a 14-year-old take a massive dump on the deck and tell him to clean it up. Well, can't really blame the kid. He probably heard the term poop deck and was like, well, all right. Our next reply is from Blackhawk. My brother-in-law builds custom homes in the redneck Riviera belt of Florida. One day, he called me to come over to this $15 million beach house that he was doing a complete remodel of. My brother was the original builder. He asked me to bring my truck and trailer. I show up, and he walks me through all 4 floors. He then says, "The owners have removed all the stuff they want to keep. She's told me to dispose of everything else as I see fit, so get whatever you want. There was furniture, appliances, outdoor furniture, rugs, lamps, artwork, you name it. I don't know the value of everything I took home with me that day, but it was the highest end stuff I've ever seen. 4 floors of it, and I only got 1 trailer load because I simply couldn't fit anything else in my house. I likely had over $20,000 worth of furniture and appliances on that trailer. OP, you should have rented out a few U-Hauls and cleared everything else out as well because you could have definitely turned a profit there. Our next reply is from Harley Quinn. I briefly cleaned houses one summer, and these houses were insane. Some of them had elevators. Some had stalls in their master bedroom. One had a literal cave manufactured in the bathroom with shower heads all throughout it. You could walk into one end and come out of the other side of the bathroom, split by a massive hot tub. What struck me as odd in almost every house was the sense of disuse. They had grand pianos covered in dust, expensive lamps and throw pillows with the tags still on them, sprawling playrooms with every toy that any child could want, totally devoid of playing children. The weirdest house I cleaned, though, wasn't huge and it wasn't gorgeous. It was pretty normal on the outside. But inside, the entire house was filled with piles of clothes. Everywhere. I pulled aside my fellow cleaner and asked, with all sincerity, how to clean this house. She told me, go around the piles as best you can. They had a mountain of clothes in the living room, like something out of a cartoon. Every couch had stacks of brand new clothes with tags still on them. They were the only folded clothes anywhere. In the bedroom, it was the same story. Smaller piles were in every corner, and you couldn't fully open or close doors around them. The kids' bathroom didn't even have a shower curtain. My best guess after cleaning that house as best we could is that they just didn't wash clothes. I think they just buy more and discard the dirty clothes into piles. I think about that house a lot and wonder if they ever got their act together. Well, obviously this family has money, but I don't know if this is so much the excesses of a wealthy family as much as it is compulsive clinical hoarding. Our next reply is from Lucifer. I worked on a billionaire's home installing his custom pool. He ordered a custom iridescent tile. For the whole pool, it costs $440,000 for material alone, and another $400K just to install it. We warned him that this was a special order and it couldn't be changed once ordered. He approved it, we installed it. He comes to check it out and it looks amazing. All the people working on it thought so too. He says that he doesn't like it, so tear it out and replace it. All told, he blew like $2.4 million on his swimming pool tile before he got done. This guy didn't even bat an eye. Our next reply is from Bombsing. Years ago, I used to work carpentry mainly doing sunrooms. One of our clients was a brain surgeon who was married to a lawyer, and they subsequently had a massive house on a large property. Their son was also some type of neuroscientist, and with his parents' permission, had yet another massive house built on the same property. Problem is, city ordinances prohibit 2 separate livable dwellings on the same property. Mind you, these houses were about a quarter mile away from each other. So, to comply with the ordinance, they built an effing wall between the houses. This isn't some dinky picket fence type of wall. It's a massive medieval-style wall with round towers that has merlins and crinolles, a gym midway through, and a massive $750,000 all-glass sunroom, all the while being wide enough to have room for a walking path and a road for golf carts inside the wall. Our next reply is from Deleted, and he says, I had a client gamble away $220,000 in one night. And beneath that, someone posts a story of Terrence Watanabe. Terrence Watanabe, born in 1957, is an American businessman and high roller who inherited the Oriental Trading Company, a direct merchant of valued-priced party supplies, arts and crafts, toys and novelties, and school supplies funded by his father, Harry Watanabe. He sold his family's business, Oriental Trading, and lost $204 million in the next few years gambling. He went completely broke and had the nerve to start a $100,000 GoFundMe campaign in 2017 when he got cancer. He's pretty well off again, unfortunately, because someone bought the movie rights to his idiotic life. Man, you'd think that after gambling away the first $100 million, you'd be like, I'm not very good at this whole gambling thing. Maybe it's time to stop. Our next reply is from Insane Knight. My friend is a mechanic. A wealthy, fat, famous, and all-around unlikable entrepreneur came into his work one day and took a liking to his coworker. He asked my friend's coworker to come and work for him maintaining his car collection. It was really good pay, and he got to work on some cool cars, so he thought, why not? His days were spent working on old, rare sports cars on his sprawling property, but every now and again, he'd get sent to Europe or the United States to check out cars that this entrepreneur was interested in buying. He'd get sent to auctions all the time and call up the entrepreneur while it was happening so that he could bid on this car on his behalf. Our next reply is from Fritzo. I've done IT work for various CEOs dozens of times over the years, and there's always common threads. It's always been male CEOs, and they genuinely seem relieved to have someone in their house that isn't trying to negotiate or weasel something from them. They'll sit and talk with me, ask my career plans, how I got into the field, that kind of thing. The wives of these CEOs are all eerily similar. Lots of makeup, very strong opinions, very cold, and very standoffish. The garage always has at least one classic car, one sports car, and one car lift. There's always a golf cart on the property. The kids' rooms are always a mess. One guy had like an 18-room mansion, and his teenage son had a mattress on the floor with clothes piled up everywhere. I had to hook up some wiring in there, and it smelled like his foot was in my face. If there's a dog or cat in the house, it's the most well-groomed animal you've ever seen. They always have a van service to come out once a week or so for grooming. Any mess will be blamed on the cleaning lady. Either she hasn't come or she's missed something, even though I didn't notice a mess in the first place. They seem to have the best of everything that you don't normally see. One CEO had a custom German sound system installed in his game room, which featured a bar, snack bar, theater seating, cafe tables, and 2 fridges. The interface on his entertainment system was also custom made, and all the TVs in the house use the same interface. I've seen a glimpse of very sexy lingerie, leather straps, and chains hanging in closets. Freaky stuff happens. I'll always get an invite to go on a boat ride, a plane ride, a golf trip, whatever they're into. These invites are not real. I think they do it to remind you that they have toys. That was r/Askreddit, and if you like this content, check out my podcast where I publish the exact same episodes. Also, hit that subscribe button because I put out new Reddit videos every single day.